Ну, сьогодні наша традиційна зустріч на другий день Різдва, і ми почнемо нашу зустріч з коротенької молитви. Добре? В ім'я Отця і Сина Святого Духа Амінь, в ім'я Отця і Сина Святого Духа Амінь, в ім'я Отця і Сина Святого Духа Амінь. Царю Небесний, утішителю душі істини, що всюди єси і все наповняєш, скарби добра і життя подателю, прийди і вселися в нас, і очисти нас від всякої скверни, і спаси благі душі наші. Слава Отцю і Сину Святому Духу, нині повсякчас, на віки вічні. Амінь. Господи помилуй, Господи помилуй, Господи помилуй, всечасний Отче, докторе Ігоре, благослови.
Нехай будуть милості Господа Бога і Спаса нашого Ісуса Христа за всіма нами.
Амінь.
Амінь.
Ім'я Отця і Сина Святого Духа. Амінь. Ім'я Отця і Сина Святого Духа. Амінь. Ім'я Отця і Сина Святого Духа. Амінь. Христос рождається.
Славімо Його.
І на превеликий жаль, отець Володимир мені написав, що він сьогодні не зможе з нами бути.
Так, що це якраз той дзенькнуло мені, що таке воно є.
Та й таке. Добре. Ми маємо сьогодні з нами вже мігрувавшого на схід отця Тараса. Ну, принаймні на схід мігрував через інтернет, знаєте.
Віртуально, не реально, а віртуально.
Так. Добре. І отже, він має для нас невеличкий сюрприз сьогодні, так що, отче, просимо.
Давайте. А ну, прошу.
Дозвольте.
Так.
Вифлеємі новина, діва сина зродила, родила благодаті, непорочна діва мати, Марія. Родила благодаті, непорочна діва мати, Марія, положила на сіні Вифлеємській яслі, Йосифіву потішає, повивати Марії. Йосифіву потішає, повивати помагає Марії. І ми теж поспішимо, Богу даре принесімо, у покорі прибігаймо, Сином Божим слагаймо Марію. У покорі прибігаймо, Сином Божим слагаймо Марію. У цей великий день Різдва Христового прийміть сердечні і щирі побажання, щоб радість і щастя з вами царило сонце і з неба вас благословило. Христос родився, радість для світа, мир у вашім домі і многая літа.
Ой, чудово!
Від мене.
Це було так файно, дуже дякую. Ви так гарно собі заколядували разом.
Та знаєте, що цього року це таке, що будемо колядувати через інтернет, і через YouTube, через Facebook, через ще Zoom. Як ви знаєте, ми так гарно повечерли з дітьми, Zoom з Ебантону, Zoom з Ваков. Це таке. Трохи інакше, але то нічого. Ще
а хто у вас Ваков? Хто Ваков живе?
О, там Оксана.
Оксана там живе, так?
Є Оксана, що віддавалася з Джейсона Угрена.
Wow.
Вони на фармі там між Ваков і між Растра, знаєте, таке село, що називається Снятин, то всі так буковинці там.
Я також зубом вечеряв із Монреалом і навіть із Нью-Йорком.
Ага.
Бо моя невістка має сестричку в Нью-Йорку, і нас 5 родин разом були на Zoom і святу вечерю споживали.
Ой, це чудово, це чудово.
Дуже
І
гарно
також
було.
ми з Едмонтону, наша Тетянка віддана за Солтикевича, син у Романа і Лесі. Лесі, що тут, знаєте, ви знаєте її очі, що приходить із Блейн Лейк, Крайдер. Вона тут з Саскотуну.
Вау, ну цікаво. Ну, як ви вже нас
Є.
привітали, отче, значить, таким чудовим співом, в мене чогось волосся, знаєте, значить, до перукаря не можна піти, знаєте, і так волосся обростає, я такий дикий роблюся, знаєте, значить, заросший і так далі. Але хочу вас і бойківським привітанням привітати, знаєте. Я не є з Бойківщини, я є з Волині, але мені дуже подобаються деякі бойківські речі, знаєте. Тобто, бойківське вітання є таке. Вішую вам коляді, би сте жили в гаразді, без клопотів, без біди, до другої коляди. Нехай Христос се рождає, нехай Бог вас покриває, землю траву цвітом, дерево листом, нехай вас, господарю, Господь Бог покриє щастям, здоров'ям, віком щасливим, всяким багатством, що се в Бога попросите, нехай ви нагородите. 100 крат вас, 100 крат, Христос се рождає. То така бойківське привітання.
Дуже файно,
Гарно?
дуже гарно, дуже гарно.
А лемки вітаються по-іншому. А лемки вінчують тако. Вінчую, юж новий рік чую. З Різдвом вас вітами, вшиткого добра в жижі вам бажами. Жеби сте здави били і до другого Різдва дожили. Жеби росли щасливо діти, жеби сте могли нимися радіти, жеби когут вам яйця ніс, а бузько пару діток приніс. Жеби бички це вам телили, а ви в жижі ся вселили. Жеби в п'єцу хлібся пік, а на пецу дідо з бабом селюх. Жеби княжів стеку помали, а нам за коляду дашто дали. Христос се рождає. Ось таке от воно.
Це лемки, це з Гуцульщини, ні?
Вони ще далі.
Польща є.
Вони в Закарпатті, і тепер то є Польща.
А, це є Польща, знаєте.
У Польщі.
От
Там, де Дракула є.
Це дуже, знаєте, такі цікаві, унікальні деякі речі є. І коли в нас був послом Ігор Осташ у Оттаві, то він дуже такі, знаєте, багато лемківських пісень знав. І я пам'ятаю один раз, як була у нас візитація владика Андрій, тоді, здається, нас відвідував, то ми в суботу маємо вечірню, після вечірні така перекуска невеличка, знаєте, і такий fellowship time, знаєте, зустріч з людьми, ну, з владикою. І Ігор тоді Осташ взяв гітару. Ой, як ми тоді, знаєте, гарно час провели, він так гарно заспівав. Він взагалі він мистецтв.
Великий гайвай.
Та й таке воно, так що, ну. Добре. Щиро вам, значить, дякую, отці, що ви сьогодні є. Хотів привітати отця Володимира не тільки з Різдвом Христовим, але також і в нього день народження був минулої неділі. Йому виповнилося 37 років, так що все нормально. Я, знаєте, далі рахувати не вмію, тільки до 37.
Ті молоді священики.
Так. Та й таке воно. Знаєте, а я тут таку жартівливу мені прислали коляду мій колега священник Роман Рицар з Греко-католицької церкви, знаєте, тут в Оттаві. Він капеляном в госпіталі є. Він також цікаве віншування приніс. Отже, віншування так воно є. Ковідниця, гарна в масці молодиця, а без маски не така. Дайте антисептика. Ковідую, антисептик носом чую. Карантин очима бачу, дайте маску, бо заплачу. Колядин, відганяю карантин. Дайте мені масочку, щоб дожити до пасочки.
Дуже гарно. Дуже гарно.
Знаєте, я дуже приємно вражений, ну як приємно вражений. В будь-якій ситуації наш нарід, знаєте, виходив з цієї ситуації або чимось таким квітливо придуманим, або якийсь такий, знаєте, віршем, чи байкою, чи поезією.
Так.
І навіть ось в цьому випадку ми бачимо, що хтось щось придумав, якісь, знаєте, гарні слова такі. Так що бажаю всім також, щоб ми всі вийшли з цього карантину і гарною пасочкою, і ще багато років прожили.
Так.
От так от воно. Добре. Сьогодні, as always, I would like to ask to write which language you prefer, those who listen to us, and we will try to accommodate you to the best of our abilities with the language of your not of your choice, but the language that is understandable for you. Ось такі от вони справи. Як у вас, отче Ігоре, святкувалося?
Як я кажу, я вечеряв таки у себе у хаті сам, але не сам, тому що я був поєднаний із своїм сином, невісткою і внуками через Zoom, а також з ними разом і із невістки сестричками, одна тут у Монреалі, а одна у Нью-Йорку. Так що так я вечеряв. Крім того, я одних людей коротенько відвідав також. А після того пішов до церкви і в церкві відслужив повечір'я. І на повечір'ї було щось, може, з 10 людей. Дуже гарно було.
А ви відслужили повечір'я з отцем Володимиром, так?
Ні, повечір'я у себе служив, а на Різдво, на саме Різдво я служив разом з отцем Володимиром, так, і ми подавалися через інтернет. А сьогодні Різдво Собор Пресвятої Богородиці, служби Божої не було, але я акафист до Богородиці відслужив тут у себе вдома. Ну, а після обіду, як звичайно, від 15 березня відслужив акафист до китайських мучеників, щоб ковід прогнати.
Так. Це вже ви служите не перший місяць, знаєте.
Щодня від 15 березня минулого року. По Божій милості.
Каже, Василь Васильович каже, half на пів говоріть.
Ага. Так, half на пів.
Знаєте, this year that, it was the first year that my mom wasn't with us, and it's interesting that 40th day was day before, like on 5th of January was 40 days since my mom passed away, so it was a bit sad, and but I was so thoroughly impressed with my daughter making pampushki and holubtsi and all of this stuff, like she's not even 15 yet, but and I honestly, like, I was so impressed with that, it's she did not seem to have that interest last year, but she was watching Baba and Mama, and this year she's kind of like stepped into it, and it was yeah. It's amazing what kids absorb. That's what I'm trying to say, so.
Yep.
Since we're talking about offspring, my nevistka prepared such a wonderful Święta Wieczeria. Everything was organized. This first, this second, this third, and everything was terrifically well marked, and I was terrifically impressed by her ability to organize things. It was great.
Well, I have to say that it is a great blessing when women take care of things as they always do in our churches, and quite often in our families, because when men start to organize it, quite often it's not working as well as when those fabulous female touches, that we have. Like,
women are the foundation of our church, whether we want to acknowledge or not, but without the women, наша церква не існувала.
You remember that when Jesus was crucified, the men all ran away, and it was the women that stood by him. And
that's right.
Then in order to prepare his body for burial, it was the women who went out in the middle of the night, braving all kinds of dangers to go and do it. And as a result, they were the ones that found out that he had risen from the dead.
Well, the message had been given to them.
Yes.
That's right.
And,
Yes, they became the proclaimers of the gospel.
and since we were talking about this, my good friend, царство йому небесне, and отець Олег, не Олег, отець Олександр Кравченко, пам'ятаєте, царство йому небесне?
Of course, wonderful man, wonderful man.
He would call me to his kelly or to his apartment, and we would have a really nice talks quite often, and he would go to me, і ти знаєш, чому ця новина була сказана спочатку жінкам? Бо було сказано їм нічого не розказувати. Ну, каже, якби чоловікові хтось сказав, каже, значить, то чоловік тримав би язик за зубами, і так ми не знаємо. Слава Богу, що Господь в своїй премудрості сказав жінкам. So that was, I just, at these days, I just remember it so well. Those wonderful people that had impacted our lives, Oh, отець знов з'явився.
About now.
Oh, there he is, yes.
All right. Okay,
Oh,
добре.
дивіться. Wow, that's nifty.
That's
Okay,
very
so-
nice.
Sorry. So no, I like to reminiscent about this, the Christmas tradition we had at the college, remember? And every student group had their own good memories, right? Отче Тарасе or Отче Ігоре, of course,
Well, I did not, because every year I went home for Christmas. I went home to Bellis, to Alberta.
Yeah. No, we had really good time at the college, and
Oh, I had a great time too. It was absolutely wonderful. The 4 years I was there, it's I think about them with such fondness. We had such wonderful times. Even though at the same time there were some difficulties as well, but above all, it was a wonderful experience.
I don't know if I would call it that difficulties. I think it was challenges that built our character, right?
Of course, that's it. That's the way it
I just
works.
remember the reason why I'm saying I mentioned at the college is because for theology students, we would go carol for the St. Andrews College in Winnipeg, and man, oh man, we would just go and like start on 7th, and we would go till 18th, and normally on the 18th every night, and normally on the 18th we would go to Transkona Parish, and that's where we have Jordansko Večerju, and then come home, come to the college. And couple of years in a row, like when I lived in Winnipeg, for so many years in a row, I was taking a couple of kids or younger people, and I would take them posivate to teach them posivate,
Mm-hmm.
and that was a wonderful thing to do too. We would come and I remember that's Олег Кравченко would say, "Oh, отче, я пам'ятаю, як це у нас було, зранку самого приходили хлопці колядувати, не посівати, знаєте, бо то
Yes.
посівати приходили, and it was still dark at night, and we would just open the door and we would wait for them. And we were sitting with a couple of boys from St. Andrews College, and we just kind of, okay, all right. On the way from, we would be sitting there on 13th at night, and on the way home, we would pick up some at Balk Barn or at Safeway, we would pick up some pshenica, some grain, to posivat. And I remember one year we went to, because Otets Kravchenko, Otets Vasiliev, Otets Lakusta, they lived in kind of one neighborhood, So next morning, we just knock on the door at 5:15 a.m.
That was fun.
Yeah.
But that's Crouch was good about that. The brother can have breakfast for us, always ready. And he'd be walking out the door and he'd go, "Okay, хлопці, за півгодини служба починається."
Yeah. No, and that's exactly the case, and Otets Kravchenko would have a breakfast for us too, so it was it was kind of interesting, Good old times.
Yeah.
So something to remember. I for in Ottawa here, that's what we did too. I would take a couple of boys. When Taras was younger, I would take a couple of boys and lots of youth. I would take it and we would do pasivanya, and it would go like from house to house to house from I guess 7 o'clock in the morning till about 1 or 2 p.m. Then I'll buy boys.
Wow.
Then I'll buy them like I don't know lunch, and we have some good time. We'll chat there, and then I would drive everybody home. And fortunately, this year that entire thing kind of put on hold till next year. So we're hoping
That's
to
it.
catch up. To
The
catch
last.
up. That's right. That's right. So, Orchard Tarasa, how was it in your place, in your parish, the celebration?
Трохи тихо цього року. It was, unfortunately, because Tatiana в Edmontoni and Oksana's on the farm, but closer to Waka and Snyatin district. So Lishunian was number just so there was only 3 of us for Holy Supper, and we had the Christmas, Vespers, and the compliance along with the Služba Božja taped a little bit earlier, so the service was on that evening, and then again on the 7th in the morning. But I mean, we did our phone calls. We did our, as usual, walked over to Dobroyika's Tata because he's the only one left that's living out of all the parents, and dropped something off for him. He тут вдома трохи заколядували, and посмішались and phoned some of the relatives, and then just relaxed. And that was a bit of a wake-up call for us to be thankful for the time that we have, for the memories that we have. I know that the reporters that called me up, there's the television and of course the newscast reporters on the radios, and one of the questions was, what makes your Christmas celebration special, and how difficult it is to maintain the culture. And what we had talked about last time, I told him, besides being unique, the celebrations when it came to the cultural aspect, but what you were saying, Oche Ihor, is to make sure that we have an opportunity to teach the children, first of all, our children, but then include other children, so they know that there is a more of an important significance to the spiritual, to the cultural side of it, rather than the gift giving. And this is what is going to eventually grow the faith. If we don't do this, set the example as priests. I don't want to say this in derogatory manner, but we have to be able as priests to come down and be human with our parishioners, with our faithful, and show them that we can also be the spiritual leaders, be the spiritual guides, but we can also be the cultural teachers, the advocates, and make sure that our families, that are within the community, within Saskatchewan or whatever the case may be, also understand that it's important to maintain. So for us, it was quiet, and I mean, along with the rest of the services and everything else, and doing a lot of the greetings through emails and Facebooks.
Getting a call from Father George Brigadier.
Oh,
Father George.
And the one thing I noticed that
everybody's doing, I am on the internet with Father Ihor
posting the pictures of the tables and everything. So it's kind of nice on Facebook. So everybody's enjoying with everybody through the social media.
Not today. I'll do it tomorrow. Okay, God bless you. Do please. He'll love that. Yes. Okay, bye.
Okay. Вітання отцеві Юрію від нас також.
Я переказав. І він вас вітає.
Дякую. Знаєте, є така дуже цікава одна історія. There's a really interesting story that I read it many years ago, actually, It's about the son who who lives who lives with his parents, and he really would like to do something for the parents, but he doesn't have means or abilities or sometimes time and stuff like that, So the time went by, and he acquired means, abilities, and time, and finances, and everything else. But time went by, and at that point of time, it was too late, or already. So the moral of the story was: спішіть робити добрі справи саме в цей час.
Mhm.
Rush to do those things, that heart, kind of ask you to do when there is in time, not just waiting for when the right moment will come. The right moment might be right now. And the reason why I'm saying that is that Father Ihor Kutas just talked to that's Yuri Brehadir, wonderful, wonderful man that lives in Montreal, and he lives in a not a hospital, but in a
It is
hospital.
a hospital.
He lives in a hospital,
It's a kind of a convalescent hospital.
a convalescent home. So suffering from his disease, from his illness,
Yeah.
Nonetheless, he's a wonderful man, and
He is.
now that the time, the COVID time and stuff like that, and it's really, I kind of feel really bad that I'm not able to visit him, And when I had an opportunity, I didn't always take them, So now I just wanted to say that, I wish to fish. That's Yuri. All the best and blessings. Once the quarantine is lifted, he's the first one on my list to visit, basically, So
Wonderful.
because he's a wonderful man, and I know him since I came to Canada 30 years ago.
Mhm.
So,
You
and
studied with him at the college.
no, I didn't. Well,
Oh, you didn't?
maybe he was online, or sorry, not online.
Oh, I think he was there before you.
Yes, yeah.
That's
But
right.
He was even there before I was, Oche.
Pardon me?
He was there before I was.
Even before you. There it is.
Mhm.
He was ordained to the priesthood in 1983.
Oh, definitely he was before me, Ocha.
Yeah.
But it is also an opportunity to say thank you to Christos Rождається, for me to Otec Isidore Voronchak,
Oh yeah, nice man.
Mhm.
Sorry?
Nice man.
Yeah. So he's, of course, they're from Manitoba, from Dauphin area,
Yeah.
Nothing bad comes out of there.
No. I think actually Pine River down the road.
Yeah, yeah. So
Pine River, Garland.
So at this point of time, 30 years ago, on the second day of Christmas, he was serving divine liturgy, and I came to church, and I was the only one in the church, him and I, and he says to me, Ігор, що ти хочеш робити далі? Ти хочеш остатися в Канаді? Я кажу, хочу. Ну, то ти піди, може, знаєш, там у нас є семінарії, чи колись, піди, може, там, може, рік-два побудеш, подивишся, і далі побачимо. So, it's kind of interesting that I haven't, still looking after 30 years. So,
Thank God.
Is he fully retired now?
yes, he is. Yes, he is. And he can't really walk that well anymore. His
Oh,
legs are, so, but every single time, every single day there is, I always pray for him, because he's a wonderful man who gave me lots of help and assistance in my life, so, and will always be remembered by my family. So that's who it is. Anyways, I will tell you how we celebrated. We actually
You please.
started at 10 o'clock, po večerya. Started a little bit late, actually, after 10 o'clock, and we went through all the way with po večerya and liturgia, and we were done at around 2:30, 3 o'clock at night, so so yesterday I had a whole entire day, to kind of rest, to celebrate with family, and it was wonderful. It was great. So that's how it is. And I see that my kuma Christia had joined us today, and
Yes.
today is her youngest son out of four. The youngest one is celebrating his birthday. So he is. Christy, correct me if I'm wrong. He is 14, right? Well, she'll correct me if I'm wrong. Отче Ігоре, Христя запитується питання. is it important to have all 12 dishes for Svet Večer?
Well, if you want to really be traditional, it is, because each one of them represents, there's two things it represents. One is the 12 apostles, actually three things: the 12 tribes of Israel, the 12 apostles, and the 12 months of the year. So that number is a really important number. But we do the best we can. We can't always have 12 dishes. I did not have 12 dishes, for example. We were very careful in Alberta and with our family. And by the way, one of my sorrows this year is the fact that due to the pandemic, I wasn't able to celebrate Ukrainian Christmas with, or rather, actually not Ukrainian Christmas, because now that I have a parish, I celebrate Ukrainian Christmas with my parish. But I used to always go to Alberta to celebrate Christmas according to the Gregorian calendar, and we do it like it was the Julian calendar. And this year we couldn't do it because of the COVID. So that's sad.
Absolutely.
But we do the best we can.
Absolutely. Yeah. Sometimes religion and home life doesn't connect. Perhaps. Yeah. And like when you're talking about this, we had on Christmas Eve at 8 o'clock, we had a Zoom call, like just to kind of сказати Христос рождається to each other and greet each other on online. And we didn't have many people. We had about 10, maybe 12 people join in together for that Zoom call, And one of the man that called is he was born in Manitoba, but he's our dear parishioner, and I asked him, so Harry, what did you have this year? How was your Holy Supper? And he said, oh, the only thing that I had for supper that was Lenten and resembled tradition was oseletsi. And kind of interesting because we have Svet Večer in the church for so many years already. Margaret Kopala started it in our church, and then I just kind of took over. And honestly, that was probably the very sad thing, because this year, due to the COVID restrictions, we weren't even able to deliver those little parcels that we have for shut-ins with Svet Večer dinner. Every year before, we would have delivered to shut-ins. We would have a take out Ukrainian Christmas Eve dinner to go. We would have a dinner in the church. We were just busting at seams. And this year is just, not that. So fortunately enough, we were able to celebrate in families, even if it's one dish.
That's it.
To remember that this is our celebration, and it's
Father Volodymyr was able to pass on to some of his shut-in parishioners. He was able to pass on food parcels for Rizdvo.
Yeah.
I was able to pass to my Yak. I was able to bring him some Ukrainian food because he's a man who lives all by himself. So I was able to pass that to him, and I was very happy to do that. Chris is saying, is there a way to reconcile without being sad what we can do and how we can do the best we can? Well, we have to realize that we are always limited by all sorts of things, and very often the best we can do is just an approximation of what ought to be done. But having done that, we don't therefore say that we shouldn't do better. We have to keep on trying to do better because these things are important. But at the same time, by economia, right, we do what we can. And as long as we do that, we're doing something. It's important.
Absolutely.
We're keeping the tradition going.
Yeah. Chris is asking if, even though the technical devices are great to help us celebrate Christmas traditions, and there are some people that don't have an opportunity to celebrate, and they just do their best what they can, kind of thing, so.
Chris just reminded me that I baptized her number 3, her third child, right?
Third son.
Third son, yes. Well, I'm I'm very, very pleased that I was able to do that. It's a great honor. Every baptism is a wonderful, wonderful honor.
Yeah,
Actually, every sacrament is a wonderful honor
that's right.
because it is the Lord working through our weakness to give His blessings to the world.
Yeah.
And you know how humble He is to do that, to use us and as instruments of His blessing and of His grace, help opening the doors of heaven through our unworthy ministry.
I see Hachi
Zachar is the
Yehuda,
name of that third son.
yeah,
Wonderful.
I see Hachi Yehuda, she brings about a good point, and this was something that we struggled with when we started live stream. There are people who are unfortunate not to have the ability to have computers or to work computers, whether it's through age or whatever else. And then with some of the questions, well, it's nice that we're going to have live streaming out of the cathedrals, out of most of the churches that are doing them. But what about those who are not able to? Like, so for example, like in some of the nursing homes or whatever, we'll grab someone who has a computer, or we'll set up a larger TV so maybe 5, 6, 10 families can get together in front of a TV and still enjoy the live stream. But there are those who have no opportunity. So, it's like she brings up a good point. What of the faithful who are not able to connect through the live stream for Sunday morning services? And that's where we have to start looking at some other means, whether it's a CD or one of the old record players, whatever else, just to have the liturgies at least played on it, so they can have, because with COVID, we can't even go and visit in the nursing homes anymore right now, or even to the hospitals. It's unless it's a dire need. It's very difficult, and sometimes people say that well, Archie, are you doing this or are you doing that? It is sometimes a very delicate question, because even priests aren't allowed to visit, no matter who they are, when it comes to certain circumstances within the health regulations. But I mean, we have to try our best, like you're saying. There's no reason that we cannot reach out to them in some other way or by some other means.
Well, I think that what the Lord has put on my heart to do an akathist each day, and I try to remember as many people as I can, in some individually, and of course mostly by groups,
Mhm.
parishes and cities and so on. I think that's a very good thing to do. I feel very happy that that I am, by God's mercy, able to do that every day.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Actually, I was put on that path by my blessed mother, who used to sit us down and make us listen to while she read Akafiste. And of course, we were bored and all that. We didn't want to, but then afterwards, when the time came, and it's come many times in my life, I realized, hey, this is a really good thing to do. You sit down, and or either you stand, you light a candle, stand in front of an icon, and read an akaphist.
Mhm.
And
It's
they
a
are
wonderful thing to
so
do.
they're enlightening, the different akafis that there are,
Yes, you're also enlightening indeed.
enlightening it for very many different types of health issues. They're phenomenal.
You know, I think in each and every one of us in our lives, we would have somebody who would like be a benchmark for us of a prayer or I don't know, a spiritual life. I um I was very fortunate because when I grew up in my Baba's village, and it's not even a village, it's Hutir, and my great grandfather was with us at that point of time, and my great grandfather uh, um, uh, was in Tsar's army yet, he did lots of things. He spoke fluent German and many other languages, and but one thing that I remember about him very vividly, is that he was in the church in Starosta нашому селі, and he was praying every morning and every day, every morning and every evening, every single day. No matter what it is, he would say those prayers, And at the end of his life, he was blind, so he did all the prayers by memory, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And it was very inspiring, you know, because he was nobody forced him to do that, you know. He just knelt and he prayed, you know, and it's
Yes.
every single day, you know. And he lived till he was 96, by the way.
I
So,
remember as a boy when I would go to visit my grandmother Paraska. If you came at a certain time of the day, she would be reading prayers. You could hear she was reading prayers. She would not answer the door. You would have you, but you were welcome to come in and sit down. And she wouldn't say or do anything until she finished her prayers. And of course, she did them out loud. And it was not by reading. She could not read. She did not know how to read. But she had this whole stock of prayers that she would do, and you would have to sit until she finished them.
mhm.
So it was. Another example of a prayer warrior.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. It was interesting, you know, because he did not do it for anybody or for anybody to see it, you know, whether anybody was in the house and wasn't in the house, you know, he just, it was evening before he goes to bed, he would do the reading, evening prayers. And so it is. So,
Reminds me of a story that there was. This is apparently in the army, and there was one chap who always, before he ate, he always said grace. And one of the soldiers, fellow soldiers, says to him, "Listen," he says, "none of us do that. Aren't you embarrassed that you're the only one that goes and says grace before you eat? Isn't that embarrassing for you?" And he says, "On the contrary," he says, "I would be very embarrassed if I am in the presence of God and I wasn't doing that."
yeah,
I think that's an important way of looking at it.
yeah,
Whatever we can do in terms of prayer, in terms of good deeds, we ought to do. Always realizing that whatever we do, it's just the tiniest little bit of an expression of gratitude for all the marvelous, wonderful things that God is continually doing for us.
I always
absolutely.
taught my Sunday school children and the ones in church camp, never be afraid to cross yourself in a public, especially if you're sitting down with mom and dad or Baba and Guido at McDonald's restaurant, because all Babas and Guidos take their unuki for McDonald's French fries.
Yeah,
Never be afraid to cross yourself. You know, it's
yeah,
just
Mhm.
the simplest of prayers. And then you are standing up for, you know, as one of Christ's soldiers. Christ's soldiers.
Yeah. Warriors, right? Christ
we're
warriors.
Warriors.
warriors. That's what we have
Yes.
to do. We have to realize that our prayers are instruments for building a better world. They're also weapons for destroying the evil that is in the world, including sickness and alienation and hostility and all the other stuff that is bad for the
Especially right now, Ochi, with your
community.
family that's in the States. Boże, Borene, що там робиться? They need some major prayers there to help things settle down.
Yes.
Yeah.
My babush used to say, to diablo там керує. Right now,
Він
that's
не керує, він пробує.
він
Він
пробує,
пробує.
but it,
Бог все ж таки, Бог всюди керує, але
yeah,
Бог дає свободу, щоб люди вчилися від того.
yeah.
Щоб вони робили правильні вибори, щоб вони бачили, що добрі вибори приносять добрі наслідки, а погані вибори, чи з їх сторони, чи зі сторони когось другого, приносять погані наслідки.
А навіть не те, щоб вони гарно жили, разом жили. I mean,
Ну так.
this is ridiculous, що там робиться.
Yeah. Yeah. But what can we do about this, you know? The only thing that
We
we can
can pray,
is pray for
and we
them.
have to pray.
That's right.
And I frequently pray for both Joe Biden and for Donald Trump.
All the world leaders.
And all the world leaders, but
Yeah.
particularly because the United States is such an important leader in the world. Particularly, my prayers are focused on them as well. Of course, Ukraine also, and all the other
Well, all
places.
the church leaders, it would be nice to have unity again. all the church leaders. I'm not only talking our Orthodox patriarchs, but all of them that, they could sit
Yes.
down one day and say, let's put aside all of our differences and for the betterment of one Christian church.
Отче Taras, I just wanted to ask you, Metropolitan Ivan, Metropolitan Emeritus Ivan, is in
He is in a nursing
is in
home right now.
Saskatoon, right?
Yeah, he's in Saskatoon. He's in a nursing home right now. They
How
moved
is he
him out
doing?
of, well, a little bit of failing health, but I think it's slowly, maybe in some, in a nursing home where he's getting his meds at the right time and everything else. But I mean, йому щось десь так 86, 87, someplace in there. And
Yeah.
he's had some challenges with his mental health, remembering.
So
He was
That's
my
interesting.
priest when I was growing up in Mazapa. And when I was
Mhm.
12 years old, 13 years old, my uncle Steve Makowski and Pan Augustin Johanski, Vera Webster's and Gerald Johanski's dad, took me aside and said, "Сенка, ти будеш вчитися як співати." So that's why when I went to the college, and Otec Nenko питає мене, he says, "So which tone are we singing?" I says, "Uncle Steve's tone." So that's the beauty. That's the beauty of going to the college. You have all these guys from all over Canada, the students, wanting to sing the trumpet and everything else, and then you had the ones from Ontario, singing in the Kievski halls, and we're going, "Що вони там п'ють так той когут, на подвір'ї?" That wasn't singing. Kievski напів. But Vladeko Ivan was the one that took me aside and said, "Okay, ти будеш зі мною ходити all over, на Паске and everything else." And I have a lot to, besides my babusi, we were talking, and I see Christy asking a question once. Women have a very important influence in their lives, and especially in, for theology students and priests. But my babusi taught me how to pray. And then Vladeko Ivan also took me aside and taught me lots.
I think that we need to return to basics. Christian was asking a question: Is prayer enough? No, so prayer is lovely, but but it's not enough. Ochi Ihara, what would you say about that?
Well, I would say that every good thing begins with prayer. I know that there's many people that say, "Oh, prayer. What does that do?" Well, the point is, people don't realize the immense power of prayer.
Mhm.
Not only there's wonderful spiritual power, but at the same time, the person who prays gets a special reminder of, okay, these things you're praying about, can you do something about it? Otherwise, you'll feel really weird that you're praying this and yet you're not doing anything. So it begins with prayer. It's accompanied by prayer. Prayer is a tremendous, wonderful thing. I have certainly in my life many times experienced the tremendous power of prayer. Because what prayer really does, right? God is always wanting to bless us. God is always wanting to shower the world with all sorts of blessings. But there have to be channels that are open. God is not a dictator. God doesn't force his grace on people, right? By praying, we open the channels, we open the doors so that God's blessing can go through and fill people's lives and change the world. Prayer is really important.
True. It's interesting that the man was created in the image of God, and Sama and Bulhaka was saying that image is the freedom that he gave us. Not only ultimate love, growing love towards being God, but also that freedom that he gave it to us. We have a choice. It's choices to make, and we are free.
I had an interesting conversation today with my godson, where he says, what is this thing about blessing God? It sounds blasphemous. We bless God, but the перший антифон, благослови душа моя Господа, bless the Lord, O my soul. God is so great and wonderful and so generous that he gives us, his creatures, the tremendous opportunity and vocation to bless him. And that's what we do in the prayers. We bless him. We thank him. not only thank him, we bless him. And the thing is, as we do that, we get closer to him. His power, his energy, his joy, his creativity comes to us, and we are able to do things that otherwise we could not even do. And it's a wonderful thing. It's absolutely amazing what God gives us.
Even the first statement of the liturgy, the first vehulos, in peace.
That's right.
People are always saying, well, why don't we pray for this church or that community? And I told them, I says, we pray right away for everybody in peace.
For everybody.
Yeah, this is what it's all about. We include everybody in our prayers, and we ask for everybody to listen with us and to pray with us. It's a wonderful statement, the very first, vehulos.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which means, though, then that we should never take for granted as clergy that everybody who is in the church may or may not understand why they have come.
That's right. Well, all the sacraments begin with that invocation of blessed is the kingdom of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, because by the sacrament, we are expanding, growing, open the doors to that kingdom, letting that kingdom come into this world. And for other services, we say, blessed is our God, like for Molebins and so on.
Yeah.
For Utrinya, blessed is our God. We bless the kingdom, we declare that the kingdom is blessed, and we also declare that God is blessed.
Yeah. Larissa Sipivnik wrote that Vladika Ivan will be 85 on January 14th.
Shares a birthday with my father. My father would have been, my father was born on January 14th, 1905.
So he would be 116.
He would be 116. That's it.
So,
but he lived here on earth, earthly years, he lived to be 75 when he passed on. So I'm just 1 year, just 1 year short of that.
Young man, really, by Canadian standards.
Yes.
Sorry?
Young man by Canadian standards, no?
Yeah, by Canadian standards, he should have lived longer, but there was an operation, they made a mistake in the operation, and so he went away.
Yeah. It's interesting. We're talking about quite often as a priest, or I as a priest had asked people when my mom was very sick. I asked, please pray for my mom. And I had the wonderful conversation with a young man from our parish. And he said to me, Oche, I will gladly do that. We're good friends for so many years already, But how do you pray?
Good question.
How do you pray? And it's interesting.
Great question.
You ask people, yes. Okay, please pray for somebody. Well, how do you pray? And that was very, very interesting, question, especially for me, because it kind of gave me a realization, that prayer is important, and it is important on a day-to-day routine, day-to-day basis. Like Otasihor is doing a kapist every day. We used to do the daily prayers at noon every single day of the in the spring, after all the way till I guess July. For 4 months we did it, and I engaged quite a few younger people and people from our parish to read those prayers. And it was a wonderful experience because not only that you read those prayers, the prayers that we have are probably I should publish on the newsletter on a Facebook page or on the website. They're very simple. They're introductory prayers. We'll do the creed, and we'll do a couple other prayers. Prayers for the guardian angels. Daily prayers. Those that you read, and then ones you read in the evening, even shorter prayers, right? Prayer before sleep. Introductory prayers. Prayer before sleep. Again, prayer to the guardian angel, and so on. And but it was very important that we read those prayers. Even though that I had some comments saying, "Why, отче, щось цікавого прочитайте, а то ви читаєте одні ті самі молитви щодня, знаєте." And then I had a short set of prayers, introductory prayers, creed, and one more prayer, a prayer of optional elders, and then I would read scripture, gospel, and epistle. Every single day of the week. Like from Monday to Friday, it was read. And if I got even more inspired, I would read Saint Theophan the Recluse reflection every day of the year. And
Mhm.
honestly, it was such a wonderful and enlightening experience for me personally.
Oh,
And that's why I think that's why it is important, to that we start with basics in our church. We have that spiritual discipline. Even if we did say a short set of prayers. With time they become memorized, and they become almost like a necessary part of our life.
yes.
I don't have to say that I memorized all the prayers. Like I have a hard time memorizing long texts. So but introductory prayers, and then saying creed, and asking my family for forgiveness in the morning before I start my day, at night when I finish the day. I do believe that this is a good step, towards the peace,
It
towards
is.
tranquility.
It's a good step. It's a good beginning. And then throughout the day, we should have all kinds of little prayers going out to God. Like, for example, when you think of somebody, say, "Remember, Lord, your servant," and then you say the name. Uh, and if it's somebody who is no longer here in this world, you say, "We remember, Lord, your servant who has fallen asleep." It's not that God would not remember them if we didn't say it, but by virtue of us saying it, that again opens a special channel by which God blesses them. And what is really important, it blesses us when we do that. And unites us, links us, God, me, and the person I'm praying for. Wow, a wonderful way of staying connected and allowing the energies of God to be uniting us and directing us in a good way. It's an amazing thing that we can do, and we should do this many, many times a day.
Yeah. By the way, like when I was doing those prayers, by the time we did last time we did it on 14th of July. By the last time we did it, I was just exhausted because I had almost broadcast almost every night. During the
Mm,
daytime, I would call people because I just felt really bad. I really like to see people like face to face. I
of
just like,
course.
you would see Oche Taras and Oche Ihor, especially. You're an example for me because you always with people and you always enjoy people's company. I do too. And being without people for me, especially during the first quarantine, was just unbelievable. Like I felt that I need to do something, and you can't do much. You can't go anywhere. For Pascha, we had 5 people only in the church. That was just terrible. So I thought, well, we'll do the driveway visits. We will do kind of from the window, of the car. You stand there and you shout across the driveway and stuff like that. Just to visit people because people, like um, um, lots of us were kind of terrified by this experience. Everybody needed support. And at that point of time, my goal was to connect with a couple other people across Canada, and instead of me doing it on daily basis, to have it on rotational basis from all across Canada, priests doing this and putting it towards the what do you call it? Put it on the Ukrainian Orthodox Church of Canada Facebook page or something like that, so people can connect to this. Anyways, this idea have not worked out yet. So I'm hoping that maybe a couple other priests will join together and we'll start our prayers, especially during the time of the Great Lent. Uh,
Pauline
we, by
Mudri
the way,
has an important question. Pauline Mudri about a prayer book. Which prayer book with many prayers? And I think that the prayer book that our Ukrainian Orthodox Church of Canada has put out, it's a big wine-colored book, a very good prayer book. The only thing is, I don't know whether they still have it or not. But that's a very good prayer book. Actually, any Orthodox prayer book is good, and there's many of them out there. And of course, many of these prayers can be found on the internet as well.
yeah. So if you needed to kind of talk more about your selection of prayers, I emailed to one of us as priests, to your spiritual father, talk about him, and you select and choose. I also could, if you email, I also could recommend some couple good podcasts that Father Maxim Lesak put out about daily prayers. It's to make it successful, I guess, to summarize those podcasts, is that you don't have to start with lot. Start with one prayer. Start just by crossing yourself and be mindful of God's presence in our life, right? In every task that we do. And then start, introductory prayers, like Початкові молитви, and then you can add something to it. But I have to honestly tell you, that this season of the quarantine that started March 15th, had taught me to really dip into the prayers, and all I could memorize is introductory prayers and the creed. And for me, it was enough. By the way, I also have this wonderful Orthodox prayer book.
Mm,
It was put out by Light and Life publication in Minneapolis.
very nice.
Father Harakas was part of that, in charge of that endeavor. And it's a wonderful book. So there's so many nice prayers, some short and long prayers. It I don't know, like in different need. And some abstracts from divine liturgy, some prayers of Ephraim the Syrians, some of the saints and stuff like that. A wonderful, wonderful prayer book. And when we had a consistory store, we were buying those by boxes and giving it to students who graduated high schools, and went to university. We would give them a little gift, this book. And somebody I don't know who had mentioned it here, saying that we don't that our books in our faith, Vira Faith, or Dobry Pastor, Good Shepherd, they're quite bulky, like to put in a person, to carry it with you in a pocket.
They
and
are
stuff.
bulky. Yeah, they're definitely bulky. Yes,
Quite bulky,
that one.
So I think something like this, if we can put out as a church, doesn't have to be even that extent. Look at this; it's small; it can fit in my pocket, and I don't know, like
You
if
have
we
a big
were
pocket.
no, I don't have, well, it's cassock, whatever standard in the cassock.
Oh, in your Kazakh you could maybe.
Yeah. So,
There are smaller ones. The Dobry Pastor that their church used to have, and Vira Faith,
Vira
when
Faith.
they were small, they could easily be put in the pocket. And there are many others which are out there that you could easily put in your pocket.
yeah. Anyways, I would like to thank Hrestia for kind comments. We did really have a good time with those kids reading the prayers. Because I mostly engaged younger children from our parish. Was Hristia's son, was Marina Popovich, was somebody reading in French, even Dyakoyevich Igor for translating that in French, some of the prayers that we did. So basically, we were trying to do it to accommodate the people in our area, basically, by reading prayerful, by reading some prayers, and it was very nice, the fact that young faces, new faces were there. That
Yes.
the prayer was not only coming from for me, the priest.
Yes.
It's good to have how would you say that, a choir of saints to sing, or to
Amen.
a choir of young people to pray, and then I was grateful for that. And that's how it is. Anyways, I can't believe the time is flying, and we're already over an hour in our conversation. Отці, я хотів вам щиро подякувати за вашу чудову розмову сьогодні. Unless there is some other questions, I guess we'll conclude our conversation today, and we will get together again on the 15th, right?
Yes.
Oh, Anton is asking if there's a good app for the iPhone for prayer.
Okay, I don't know of any, but he says there's one called Pray Always, which sounds like a good app.
It's really hard I find it hard to find in English. I do it in a good number of them put the Russian Orthodox Church puts out, and now Ukrainian Orthodox Church puts out especially daily Bible readings, which is wonderful. And one of the websites I wanted to mention, and I forgot the name of it. I guess it tells you how often I use it. It's called Katina. And Katina is the commentary, or Katana, I don't know how to say it, is a commentary on the each verse of the Bible from the saints.
Look
It's
at that.
wonderful, you know. So it's, I don't know how to pronounce it properly, you know.
Well, spell it out.
Catena.
T-A-T-E-N-A.
No, C-A.
C-A-T-E-N-A. Yes, Katina. Yes.
So it's put out by Coptic Orthodox Church, you know, and it's a wonderful resource. When we were studying Bible, you know, quite often you wanted to cross-reference, especially some of the challenging passages of Book of Genesis or Exodus and stuff like that, and they had a really good cross-reference resources.
And Father Anton has given the app from Apple called for Pray Always. It's there. He's put it up.
Oh, чудово.
Thank you, Father Deacon Anton. Thank you, everybody, for your encouragement and expressions of.
Thank you for watching. Thank you for your comments.
Yes.
And щиро дякую всім. Отче Тарасе, прошу вас, закінчіть молитвою.
Окей. В ім'я Отця і Сина і Святого Духа, амінь. В ім'я Отця і Сина і Святого Духа, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Богородиця, Діва, радість, благодатна Марія, Господь з тобою. Благословена ти між нами, благословений плід утроби твоєї, бо ти породила Христа Спаса душ наших. We thank you, O Heavenly Father, for allowing us to gather this evening, to share our thoughts, to share our prayers, and to pray with all of those who are gathered during these holy days. We do this in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, в ім'я Отця і Сина і Святого Духа, в ім'я Отця і Сина і Святого Духа. Христос народився, дорогі брати.
Славімо Його!
Щастя!
Щастя і здоров'я всім!
Так, окей, тримайтеся добре.
Дай Боже.
I know we finished, but I just wanted to say that this wonderful book is Father Cognaris, of course, Anthony Cognaris, that's who put it together, has some of a very unique prayer that you can't find it anywhere else. One of them is the prayer of disappointment, if you've been disappointed during the day. And another one that relates to all of us who have children, and that is a prayer for a busy day with children. And I have to share it with you because it's such a wonderful prayer. You know, and it says, Father, thank you that I'm also a parent. I'm looking forward to this busy day that will be filled with the chatter and laughter of my children. May I catch their enthusiasm and may their interest infect my own spirit so that I, too, may have childlike eagerness for the events of the day. Give us patience if the day grows long and tempers wear thin. May we end the day with eagerness to spend another day together. Amen.
Amen.
So, like I said, wonderful, wonderful prayers, you know, and really, it's worth going through this and lots of encouragement.
That's a great prayer for priest. Побачимося. До зустрічі знову.
З Богом.
П'ятниці, так.